mentioned, there's a story that you mentioned, you told me once about Kobe that you, like, when y'all spoke about something, I was like, yo, I felt that. I felt that. That was my guy. But, yo, man, episode number 2 of the Jex Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers out there, appreciate y'all for checking in. And this is your host, Michael Jex. And of course, we got G. Cowan. Yep. But we got a very special guest today, man. This is a really good friend of mine. I mean, somebody, we hear that a lot. Like, yo, my brother. It's my brother. But it's different because we actually go back like that. I got a friend of mine's special guest today. And, we going to get into a lot of stuff. But, this gentleman here has been around in the media industry for a while. And he's got a, major name for himself, in the media industry, and it's somebody who I just see as a brother, man. It's funny, both me and Gary known him for a while, and to come several years later, I think we actually met.
What year? 1999 or 2000 or something like that.
Around it was early,
yeah, that's early.
That's 20 years. That's a dub.
Because I overstayed my time in high school for about years. So I graduated in 99.
Right.
I liked it so much.
Right.
And right after that, I was Foot Locker.
Yes, sir.
Right after high school, so I had to be like 99.
But the gentleman that we're talking about today is my brother to my right, the one and only Lance Fresh, man.
Yes,
Lance,
yes,
thank you, man. Thank you for coming through to the building, man, and joining us and gracing us with your presence on the podcast, bro.
Of course.
And we were driving up. I just saw a picture. He was staying down here working on Joe Biden's campaign. And he stayed an extra day for me. He ain't gonna lie. He ain't gonna tell you for me. He stayed it for me. I asked him, yo, please come on the podcast, bro. Stay one extra day.
You were the first call. You was the first call.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And when we drove up, we were just like reminiscing about a whole bunch of stories that, just from back in the day. But I want to bring people, up to speed on who you are. A lot of people know you from social media. A lot of people know you from being in the Samsung commercials. A lot of people know you from being in the TNT commercials. Mm-hmm. A lot of people know you from being on NBA TV. But let's bring everybody up to speed, man, on who Lance Fresh is, because I think it's very important for people to know, who you are, what you do, and the value you bring to the table.
I think that's always the hardest part for me when I meet people who don't know me and they're like, yo, what do you do? And I'm like, a lot. I'm like, a lot, man. Right. It depends on what you would know, right? Because everyone's not a sports fan. Everyone's not a sneaker fan. So, right at this point in my career, I'm still on-camera talent. The chief creative officer over at PlayersTV.
Talking.
But it's like, and that's even weird to say, right? Because I'm at the point in my career where, that should be normal, and it is normal. But for me, it's just like I'm always treating it like I'm not at that level. Like I need to get higher. I need to go higher. I need to keep going. So I want more and more. And I think right now, where I am, I'm at a comfortable place in my career. I'm right where I never thought I'd be. You know what I mean? Like
a sweet spot.
Yeah, it's like
he's at the place right now where if the wrong person is watching this, they definitely coming to you for a loan.
Yo,
they definitely coming to you.
No, not even that. For me, it's like I've put in so much work to get to where I am, and it's easy for people to look on social media and see on social media, right? Because I treat my social media as like an outlet to who I am as far as work, right?
Yeah.
Now, personal life, family life, that's different because the internet is so weird. It's like you got to kind of have that separation. You can't give everybody everything.
Absolutely.
You got to have times where you take off.
Don't market what you're not selling. We had the first episode.
Yeah, it's like what I mean. It's like you got to have that separation because I remember being on camera and doing my first commercials and being on TV and talking about fashion and what the players are wearing and sneakers and things like that, and you get the hate. If you look up, I'm always looking up old stuff, but I remember Deezus and Mero, before they, I don't know if I said his name right, but I think Deezus and Mero, before they I think they were kind of lit at the time. I didn't know who they were. Anyway, they were watching the commercial, and I guess they were like, yo, who the F is this dude, this corny dude?
Wow.
And I'm just like, I'm going back. I'm like, hold up. I'm like, bro, you live in the Bronx? I'm like, you talking, can we curse on here? Can we curse on here? I'm like, you talking shit. You live in the Bronx, bro. I'm from Brooklyn. You know how it is when you out there, ew, the Bronx. You know what I mean? So it's like, I kind of started doing that, but then I found myself responding to a lot of people, right? Just because dudes is hating. And it's like our culture is like, bro, you're not going to talk to me like that.
Exactly. We just had a conversation. My man Sean behind the camera, we just talking about that. Like, yo, just certain individuals, you just can't really walk down that road like that.
Yeah. So for me, it's like I'm kid from Bed-Stuy. We joke. We go at it. I had this idea to talk about fashion and sneakers because no one was talking about it. Like they were talking about it on Twitter, but there was no content around it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? Let me start creating content around it. But and we could go back to like the stuff. I'm getting to the funny stuff right now. I'm going to the funny stuff because it's like I'm like, nah, I'm gonna cut you. I'm a joking you, and like I would joke on people back, and they'd be like, oh, because I'm verified and all that. They'd be like, oh, you responded like, yo, man, it's all love, and it's like,
it's all love now.
I'm like, nah, bro. I'm like, let's keep going. I'm like, what else you got, bro? Because I'm trying to come right back at you again. But I remember like my boys, like they was like, Black and those dudes, they was like, yo, don't do that, bro. Like you on TV now. You can't be doing something. Like, nah, man. Like that's what's gonna separate me. That's what separates me from these other dudes, bro. Like I'm not, this nerd broadcaster that went to school that talks like, hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the like. No, bro. I speak the way. Who's calling me? My bad, y'all.
No, you good.
I just on vibrate.
That's the Samsung plug. He did that shit on purpose.
Nah.
He made sure that damn phone rang on purpose on the podcast, so that he can do the Samsung plug.
But it's
all right, bro. You can do it.
It's like I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. Like I'm myself, and I posted that the other day, because Kobe had a. It was a quote, and it was a video where he was talking about like being yourself.
Wait! Before you even mention the quote about Kobe, and it's important not to cut off what he was about to say about Kobe, but I think it's going to be even better when we get into a little bit more of what we're talking about. I want to go back real quick. So first of all, you're I would say a broadcaster, but you're also an influencer. You're a media personality. You said something today in the car that I was like, yo, I can see that. You were like, yo, I'm going after the Ryan Seacrest lane. That's me. Like that's who I can be. And I was like, yeah. When you said that, a lot of things clicked. But I want you to like kind of go from the start. Like how did you get to even? How did it begin for you? How did the journey on this road, being who you are right now? Like how did that start for somebody right now? Just think about it. If they're watching you. They're in their apartment, they're in their house, they're in Little America, they're in Brooklyn, they're whatever. They want to follow suit and be like, man, I want to be like that. I love media, I love sports, I love fashion. How can I go down that road of being a influencer like you are? Like what's some of the things I think from the beginning how you were able to do it?
So just to answer that question on because I get that question a lot from kids, and when I go to colleges or they DM me. It's so hard to answer that question on like how can I get to where you are because everyone's situation is different. Yeah. And my situation wasn't the route that everyone else went to become broadcasters. Like I can promise you that every broadcaster that I know that's on the same networks I'm on, they didn't make it the way I made it. So for me, it kind of started with my mom. My mom was a teacher, but on the side she did modeling and she did acting. Mm-hmm. So I would be on set with her. Single mom, so I'm just always on set with her. And, I'm on sets with Spike Lee, Hype Williams, Jesse Terrero, like all these people, like who were like known for creating dope projects.
And didn't you have a small cameo in a movie?
No,
when you were a kid.
No, listen, I had a few, little extra roles, and but that kind of stuff was through her, from being on set with her.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And it's like I never really wanted to be on camera. I mean, well, when you think about it. You were like, oh man, it's kind of cool to be an actor and all that. But I was more interested in the way things were created. Mm-hmm. So from a young age, from 9 years old, 10 years old, I'm on set with my mom and I'm literally watching, the cameras and how things are broken down. So and that's those are things that people kind of really get to understand once they get to college, right? Because like back in the day, you're not like really learning how to make and create film in high school. You know what I mean? Like there's no school wasn't really doing that. So for me, I'm getting to see it at a young age, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. So like growing up, I said, yo, I want to create music videos because like back in the day, it's like we talking about like Victory and like these
Hype
was like the god, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna make better videos than him. Like he was literally making movies that were music videos, and I'm like, yo, that's dope, and that's wavy because I love music, so I always wanted to like do that. So by the time I got to that point where I'm in college and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make music videos. Everybody started making music videos, and it became easier to make music videos, and then the money goes down. So you can't really make a living saying I'm a music video director. It's not too many, like you can't really even name too many, music video directors now.
Right.
Like outside of the guys who were still there, and like even they had to like venture off and to make films and things like that because it's just not a thing. So for me, I still wanted to create. So when I went to school, when I went to college, I played ball, and I majored in video. But when you're in these classes, you have to like create your own videos. So the only actors are your classmates. Now I remember like my senior year, it was like five different groups making movies, making like short films.
Yeah.
I was an actor in every one short film because they were just like, yo, we gotta have you, like you the man. And I remember, of course I got an A in that class. I better have got an A. Even if I didn't do all my work, I did everybody else's work. But I got an A in that class, and I remember my professor, she's like, yo, Lance, I just wanna, I've never really seen one person like participate in all my years of teaching, participate in every group. And she's like, it's a lot. You had to literally remember lines for everything. And she was like, I always tell my students, when we're creating content, when we go on these sets as production assistants, we never want to say, when you first start off, you never want to say you want to be in front of the camera. She's like, but Lance, you belong in front of the camera. And even then, I was like, nah. She's like, no, you have the charisma. She's like, I know. She's like, you're going to be in front of the camera. So it's like, that's something that I just literally ignored. I'm like, nah, it's not for me. I'd rather create. I'd rather, bring out the best in people. I want to sit back and get them checks and, be able to chill. Like, when you think about it, I'm like, you always want to just be able to chill and be rich, right? And be rich and not have people, like, not have the celebrity life. That's what they complain about, right? They get too rich, they get too famous.
And then they're too in front of everybody's face, and then they have no privacy, and they can't do normal things anymore.
So it's like I was thinking that level. I'm like, I want to be on that level, but I don't want that, right? So fast forward, I know I'm like taking my words, but fast forward,
you're good.
I'm playing ball in college. And, my last year, my girlfriend at the time, she was my girlfriend at the time, she got pregnant. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, but even before that, I was like, I want to kind of go home and focus on like getting a job after college, right? Like I'm playing ball, we winning championships, I'm good, but I'm not going to the NBA. And I don't want to go to the NBA. If I was like a few more inches higher, anyone wants to go to the NBA, but you got to be a realist. Like I'm watching like my other friends go to the NBA, play overseas, but I know what that looked like when you just chase that overseas bread, and
the plan didn't necessarily work out the way you wanted to.
It's just like I'm not going to the NBA. If I could, then I would be going hard right now. Like, but I'm not. So I'm focusing on TV and video, and that's what I always wanted to do as a kid anyway. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yo, I got to focus on getting a job because I knew people who I went to school with who were older than me, who were like majoring in the same major and not working in it because they couldn't get jobs, and you got to make money. So I'm like, yo, I got to focus on that. So I actually quit my team halfway through my season, and I was just like, yo, man, I gotta, I'm graduating in 6 months. Like, I won my championships. I'm not really into this, and like, it's gonna be cool to say you won championships, and I can say that, and I played college ball, but at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, I need to be home and like making moves. So I was home making moves and meeting people. My mom was connecting me with a lot of people, and I was able to get a job, not an internship, because I've never worked an internship. Having a child like straight out of college, it was just kind of like I had to work.
You had to bring home the paper. Right?
Yeah, it was there's no like working for free. I just couldn't do it. So because I left the team.
Hold on, time out. Pause right there. Don't forget your thought. Side note. That's why I actually always say, if you have a child, you have an easier time being successful. No joke. Like, when you have a kid, that's like a catapult for you to get your shit together immediately. I always mention that. That was like an example.
Some people use it as a crutch.
Yeah, some people use it as a crutch, but really, it's actually something that can help you get, to your shit much faster. So that was just an example. You said it, but go ahead, man.
Yeah. So with that being said, I had to go out and provide. So. I came home, and I was able to get this job, but now I'm freelancing. I'm freelancing as a production assistant. So as a production assistant, for the people who don't know, you're literally doing all the grunt work. So like you're, picking up the vans early in the morning, going to pick up the crew, loading up the truck with all the equipment. It's probably like 2 of you. Maybe sometimes it was just me loading all the equipment in there by myself, taking lunch orders, from the crew, cleaning up after the crew. And it was just, for me, it was just like, I was like, man, I can't be doing this for too long, right? And I know people who are PAs for like 2 or 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And it's like, you get to sit around. A lot of it is like hurry up and wait, while you're doing that. But then a lot of it is just like being on call for people. And I'm like, man, I'm not an assistant. Like, nah, that's just not me. So I just made sure that when I was on set, and that's the other thing, people get so comfortable with money that, they're like, oh, well, the day rate is crazy. So I'm getting like, $250 a day, $300 a day. Back then, like coming out of college, it's like, oh, I'm getting money. So they get so comfortable with that. They're like, oh, I could just chill. I could just hang out and not do anything. But me, I was like, nah, I don't even know what I want. I know I want to direct and I want to produce, but I want to kind of learn everything. I want to learn everything. So I'm sitting around the grips and, the lighting and the producers. And I'm like, yo, I'm just anything you need. I'm watching the things that they do. And I'm, just pretty much making life easier for them instead of just being a guy that's like getting lunch and doing things. So they're like, yo, like, what do you know about this? And I'm like doing research. I'm going home and I'm doing research. And, now I know what this is. I know what this light is. So I'm literally helping everyone. Sound guy. You know what I mean? So I just got to a point where I was just like, I'm never going to be one of those guys sitting in a van. Like dudes are just sit in the van and just chill and be on their phones. That's what they do. Right. You're gonna have to kick me off the set. Like that's straight up like what it was. And it was like, and like directors, sometimes the directors would be like, hey man, like what's up? Let's clear the set. So many people out here. Like what are you doing here? And I'm like, and I'll dip, but then I'll come back. He'd be like, this motherfucker's back again. But for real, like that's who I was. I'm like, I'm not one of them, bro. I'm not one of those van sitters, bro. Right. Like, nah, I'm not a van sitter. So I wasn't a PA for too long. I moved up to associate producer within a year, which never happens ever anywhere. And from there, it's like, once they know your work ethic and they trust you with things like that, that's it. Once I'm an associate producer, I can never be hired as a PA. Yeah. No, just no. So fast forward to that. Working in reality TV, working for these shows, Project Runway All Stars was my last show, the last show I worked on.
What's some of them you did? So,
My Fair Wedding with David Tatera, Let's Talk About Pep, Russell Simmons show, Kimura show, and just like HGTV things and like different documentaries, different like random documentaries. Outside of that, and Mob Wives was like. Mob Wives was my first. That was my first show, and I was like, yo, I had to get up out of there because that Staten Island mob stuff was just too much. I was like, yo, listen, I'm from the hood, but this is different. Like people dropping stuff at the door and ringing bells and disappearing, and me, walking to the door and having to. I'm like, nah.
Check it.
And then I wasn't checking it. No, I remember that happened. They was like, hey, can you bring that in? I'm like, no way. Mm-hmm. Not a chance. They were like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know what that is. And like these chicks are fighting and like, throwing glass. I'm like, yo, I gotta get off this show.
Oh man, they were fighting and throwing glass on fucking reality TV. Mm-hmm.
Man. But like, that was back when like there wasn't no security on set, right? Love and Hip Hop, you watch that show, not like security is ready. They in there, boom. Right. They let them fight for a little bit, kind of like Jerry Springer. It's like, boom. All right, now we in. But back then it was just like the crew. So it's like me being 6'5", they're looking at me like. You had to be all terrain. You had to be. You was a producer, security. And they were like, "Yo, sorry."
TSA for the boxes coming in.
They'd be like, "Yo, sorry. Oh, sorry if I hit you. She's just crazy, blah blah." And I'm like, "Yo, I'm off. I gotta get off the show." But fast forward to that, reality. I spent the whole month working on Project Runway All Stars. Literally a whole month with no days off, and it was good money. But I was just tired and I was just like, yo, I can't do this again. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I can't do this reality TV. So then I jumped into sports, and, the only way I knew how to jump into sports was, Gary Forbes, who's, a friend I grew up with, and he's in the NBA at the time. And this was during the lockout, and, it was a game in Philly, and it was Chris Paul, LeBron, Melo, Hakeem Warwick, Gary Neal, like a whole bunch of lesser name players outside of the ones I just mentioned. But it was a lockout game, and they filled it up in Philly, and I got on the side and I recorded it. So like I'm with these dudes. Like after that we come to New York.
I remember this story. Go ahead.
Yeah, we chilling. You know, that's the first time I met like all those dudes, Chris Paul, all those dudes. And fast forward, I put up a video on YouTube. I put up 2 videos on YouTube. One was like, because Melo had got dunked on bad by Hakeem Ward, and I put that up there. And then there was another video just like highlights and stuff that I cut up myself. So I'm like working on a personal project for Gary Forbes because he was like player with diabetes, didn't get drafted, but ended up making a team after that. And doing the research, I found Bleacher Report. So
and it was early days.
That was beginning. Yeah, it was like the first year of the company.
Right.
And I was like, oh, cool. So then when I'm looking for jobs after this reality gig, I saw Bleacher Report. I'm like, oh, that's that site that I saw. They're starting a video team in New York. So I'm like, oh, this is my way into sports. Because like at the time, all you know is ESPN. It's like, just ESPN and that's it. So I reached out to them, and the only thing I could really show them was that lockout footage that I had. I'm like, yo, I shot this, I edited it. They was like, oh, great. And, they hired me within like
with some home footage.
A week of speaking to them. Mm-hmm. And then my first day on the job, it was like a party they had. And they were like, hey, we just need you to interview our like the employees at this holiday party and ask them questions. And I'm like, what am I signing up for? So whatever. So we did that. And everyone's like, oh man, like, just asking me questions because nobody looks like us. Like we don't you don't see a guy on set that looks like me with like Jordans and like just swaggy, whatever, fitted cap. So they're like, yo man, like who you? What's your name? So everybody knew me. So it's like when I come in on Monday, they're like, oh man, Lance, good to see you again, bro. Welcome to the team, man. You're so swaggy, all that stuff. And I'm like, cool.
Because you was like the first like culture guy, right, in the building.
I'm the first black guy over there.
Oh shit! Wow, it's crazy.
For real. I mean, they ended up bringing a guy from San Francisco, but yeah, I was the first black guy over there. Yeah, but San Francisco, that's a little different from like So like black guy. I was the first black guy there.
Right.
No disrespect to that dude. He was actually from Boston. That guy.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was the first dude who understood the coach. I was the only person who knew the culture over there.
Right.
So, and that's pretty much what I bought to BR, where at the time they were kind of like, battling with like Barstool and like SB Nation, and they weren't really respected. So after seeing the content and seeing the hosts that they had, I was kind of like, all right, we need to talk about something else because this is like all this stuff is corny to me. Like I wasn't really into like fantasy football and basketball at the time, and that's kind of like all the stuff.
That's what they were really. Yeah,
their bread and butter was like college football and things like that at the time. But the whole premise on BR was that anyone can be a writer. So like anyone could like write an article. It was like the report from the bleachers. So like the fans are like literally writing articles on players. So equivalent to like what a like TMZ Sports would be, where people are like, yo, y'all just talking shit about players.
Right.
So I'm like, nah, we could do better culture than this. We could do better content on this. Let's focus on culture and sneakers. And, at the time, it was a guy there who was running the company. And he was like, all right, well, who's going to do it? And I'm like, well, none of these hosts that we have now, because, they're not it. They can't speak on it, and I'm not.
They don't even know. They have no idea. Like, what's the difference between a Dunk and a Jordan 1? And,
exactly. So I was like, I'll do it. And he was like, all right, let me get back to you. And, he didn't get back to me, and I remember my first video I ever did, I went to interview Kyrie for Foot Locker's Week of Greatness, right? So that was the first Foot Locker Week of Greatness. The Week of Greatness is when they drop all these sneakers leading up to Black Friday.
Okay.
So like all these like fire kicks, whether it's Jordans, pennies, whatever it is, they all drop that week, and they still do that. And I think now they're on like their 8th or 9th Week of Greatness, and Kyrie was late, so I'm there with a PA just to get interviews, not me on the camera, just literally sticking the mic and asking questions. And I'm like, you know what? I know all these kicks. These are pennies. This is this. So I'm like, yo, let's just hold the camera up to me, bro. Whatever. So I'm holding up a shoe. I'm like, yo, this is the penny, 3 or whatever. Just originally released. So I'm literally like Googling like facts about it. It's like I know the kicks, but like now I'm just like, let me put some facts behind it. I'm like, it originally released in 1996, and now this is the first time it's coming back in 2012 or whatever it is, and I did a video on that. Interview Kyrie, went back, gave them the Kyrie footage, but then I edited my video, and this was like the last day before Thanksgiving break. Mm-hmm. Edited that video, put it out. This is when we had a YouTube deal. Made like a Lance Fresh account on Bleacher Report and posted the video. Now I know how to send videos to programming. It's like, hey, this video is on programming, like here programming, we should post this. This is cool. And they filter it and they say yes or no.
Right.
So I was like, yo, I stayed behind when nobody was at work, just one editor, Fred. Shout out to my dude, Fred. And I cut it and I took it over to him. He was like, yo, this is solid. And he made like a few more adjustments. He's like, yo, let's do this, let's do that. And then I put it out and they were like, yo, this is good. This is a good video. So that night it did like 50,000 views. It was like the top kicks leading up to.
That's crazy.
It was the first video they ever posted on their Facebook account. The first video they ever posted on their Twitter. Back then we only had one picture on Instagram, so we didn't really use Instagram like that. But it went crazy. So then Monday, now the video has like 150K views, and that was like a lot, like for that
back
time.
then, yeah,
right.
Without question.
That like even the ones that.
What year was this?
2011.
Right.
2011.
Right.
2011 or 12. It was 12 actually, yeah. So because I was there for like a year, and fast forward, that it went crazy. Like to give you a context on how good that video went, like they had branded content that they would get paid for, and we put out videos, and those videos would like cap out at like 50K. Like that was like solid. Like my video did 150 in the weekend, because everybody started picking it up, other outlets and stuff like that.
Did you get that phone call back after that?
So then the founder, Dave Finocchio.
Hey, Lance, buddy.
Nah. So we were,
man.
So we were, and I've never told this story. I told it to people, but I've never like been on a show like speaking on the story. But that's back when like GChat was around. So like everyone's GChatting each other. So I see like GChat, and I'm like, I had never met him because he's in San Francisco. I'm in New York, and I actually didn't meet him at the party, but that was my first day, so I don't really remember people. He's like, hey, he's like, Lance, we met when we was in New York. He was like, what? I saw the video, man. He was like, I want to, I'm coming to New York next week. I want to talk to you about, being on camera.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh. So the dude who told me no, I ain't gonna say his name, but he came in that next. Yeah, no, it's whatever. It's whatever. Yeah, I mean, we're friends on LinkedIn now, so I don't want, But he was like, oh man, video was amazing, man. That was great, man. Yeah, we got to talk to you about, getting. I'm like, all right, your boss already told me. Don't worry about it. I already spoke to him. You're late, bro. You're late. So, so then from there, they're just like, yo, you're on camera, and then I'm doing. What else do you want to do? I'm like, more sneaker content, more fashion content. I want to talk about what the guys are wearing. And at that point, when I had that first win, it's just kind of like we gotta listen to him and see what else sticks.
Right.
Fast forward, we got acquired by Turner. Mm-hmm. So now, as soon as Turner comes on, I'm one of 3 on-camera talents at BR at the time, and I'm the only one that's on TNT and NBA TV.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? Because like as soon as I came, they were just like, "Yo, you're content," and that goes back to me saying I'm not a regular host.
Right.
Everyone else, respectfully, they're a regular host.
Mm-hmm.
They were
script.
Yeah. Anyone can do that.
Right.
For
sure.
Like
you brought a different flavor to the menu.
Yeah. And like for sure, like
elements of the menu.
It takes work. Because I wasn't, I'm always learning. I'm still, trying to get better. But
it's not to knock anybody else that's doing anything.
Yeah.
It's just, you did something different. It was a whole different angle.
I was like, no, I'm not going that traditional route. Those people probably went and did, internships and training and things like that, which I, had to fix. I just had to learn on the camera. I had to learn to enunciate on the camera and really separate the way I speak, like to the point where like I meet people and they're like, yo, you don't even sound like you're from New York. And I'm like, well,
I had to fix
that. I had to fix that, you know what I mean? And now I sound, whatever. But yeah. So that's kind of how I got my start to be on camera and things like that, and kind of had that trust. It was just kind of like preparation meeting opportunity. There is no like really script for that. It's just literally being ready. So it's like if people ever ask me how to get to where you are, I would just say, put in the work, research, and be ready.
Amen.
Put
in the work, research, be ready. Go ahead.
At this point, a lot of your confidence or just willing to do whatever you want to do. Did you understand the value you brought already at that point? Because, some people just don't know who they are yet, what they want to do, if their idea, their vision is even worthy or worth it yet. Did you kind of already know what value you brought to say, you know what, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm worth. Like you said, I'm not the van guy. Did you understand the value you could bring at that point already, or it's just kind of like, I'm going to just do it until it works?
I don't think I understood the value until I seen the results of me pushing and doing, what I believed in, the things that I cared about until it worked. You know what I mean? The same way I said I'm going to stay on set, even though they don't want me on set. It's like, you don't get that. You don't get that conversation. You don't, even if the director is kicking me off set, which, that was like a one-time thing, but he knows me, right? And it's funny because that day, we actually became cool after that. He was like, yo, man, I didn't mean to, kick you off. It was just kind of crazy. And I was like, yo, no, I know it's a lot going on. I was like, I'm just trying to be around and, just be a sponge. And he was like, all right. And he was like, what you into? And then we had a conversation. So now, he was one of the dudes who kind of like helped me after that, dude named David, French dude, mad funny. But he was just like, looked out for me after that. And like we would talk and he was like, he would always joke. He's like, you don't want to be a director. He was like, it's too much. He was like, you got to be a dick like me, and like shit like that. He's like, you're a nice guy, blah, blah, blah. So like he kind of like helped me understand like the dynamic of the set and just being around. And he ran the set, right? So like you could have production coordinators who tell the PAs and things what to do, but when you got that relationship with that guy, you can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? And you can kind of be there and learn. And at the end of the day, these things are all about this whole, this business is, majority, I wouldn't say all, but majority of like who and not even who but who you are and how people perceive you. Right. I remember like one of my worst days on set, where a woman, who was pretty much running the PAs, her boyfriend was like freelancing and she like low-key set me up to get like fired, like on some like,
how did that happen?
That was a crazy story. So we're working on the show, and at the end of the day, like I said, as much as I'm like grinding, you get more responsibility. So I was key PA, I was the head PA, and I was responsible for getting the tapes from the camera guy and giving them to her to for the episodes. So the guy, David, who's my guy, was like, he was stressed out. He's always like screaming at people, and he just like screamed at her one day because she just wasn't great at her job. She literally knew someone who like literally carried her to like every show, and that's when it comes in handy when you're freelancing. You need to know somebody because you need to keep getting jobs, right? So she was someone who was carried, and anyway, he screamed at her. She cried. She's frazzled.
Oh shit!
I bought her the tapes, and I'm like, hey, here are the tapes for the day. She's like, all right, thank you, right? Boom. So then an hour later, when we're packing up and everything for the night, she's like, hey, Lance, where are the tapes? And I was like, I just gave you the tapes. Like, she's like, no, I don't have them. And she's acting like she's looking all over. And I'm like, oh. So then, at the end of the day, she's who I report to. She's like,
she's definitely fucking.
She's like
voting for Trump this weekend.
Bro, yeah.
100%. I know without a shadow of a doubt. She's voting for Trump. Man. I know that.
Yo, she's definitely voting for Trump.
Wow.
So I'm like, yo. So it was, dude I worked with, his name was Kyle. It's my boy, cool Asian dude, rode a motorcycle to like a moped to work. Mad cool. And he's like, yo, bro, are you kidding me? He was like, she's just going through stuff and she's like bugging out right now. Mm-hmm. She made me and Kyle empty out the whole truck with all the equipment to make sure it wasn't there. And I'm like, it's not there. So we did that, right? She didn't know we did that. But me and Kyle did that. Emptied out the whole truck. I'm like, let's just do that just to make sure, right? I had a fanny pack, bro. Like, that's where I kept all the tapes. Like, I'm not going to lose the tapes, bro. So we did all that searching. It wasn't there. We go back. There's a lot of emails. Hey, we don't know where the tapes are. We don't know where the tapes are. The next day, the van stayed there. She magically found the tapes in the van.
That you and Kyle.
That me and Kyle emptied. So, I was like, yo. For me, I was just like, whatever, right? Whatever. Who cares? Like,
what's her name? Karen?
Yeah, her name was. I don't even like to say her name, but it's a type of cheese. It's like when you no, that's her name. Her name is a type of cheese that begins with a B.
Munster.
But it's like, but yeah, she is a monster. But when you have people like that, and for me, I don't like if you ever do me that dirty, I can't even speak your name.
Crazy,
like you're pure evil. Because
if you were a guy, you're like you seeing hands, like without question.
Yeah, for real.
Without
question. No, that's the crazy part. I went home and like I remember the girls on my block were like, yo,
yeah, right, exactly.
Where? Tell me when. I'm like, nah, they gonna know it's me. Yeah, so.
She has got to
so fast forward, I go down on Friday to pick up my check, and it's crazy because the woman who was her boss was like an older black woman, super cool. The woman who I'm speaking on, she was a white woman, young white woman, and I remember she was just like everyone was just like being cool. No one knew what was going on. I'm picking up my check. I'm like, hey, to the black woman Veronica. I'm like, hey, what's up, Veronica? Whatever. She's like, oh, nice. She's like, oh, come, let me talk to you. And I was like, yeah, what's up? She's like, yo, so what happened with the tapes? I was like, yo, I thought I could be real with her. I'm like, I'm gonna be real with you. She like set me up, and Kyle was in there, and Kyle was like, you guys, Kyle. And Kyle came over, and Kyle was like, yo, we emptied that whole truck. Like literally, I have a witness saying we emptied the whole truck. Fast forward, she's like, yeah, well, that's a real big thing, and we're gonna have to let you go.
Damn,
I'm the key PA. I'm the key PA, bro. I'm never late. Like I'm that dude. And I think I felt like it was a mixture of her feeling embarrassed for the girl getting screamed at the way because she got she got literally embarrassed. And I don't know if that was a thing on like protecting her from like trying to sue. Like I don't know what the hell it was, but when I left, her boyfriend came and who was like a freelancer and just came when people couldn't make it. And he took my spot. And I remember...
That's right.
I remember, it was my son's, like, I think it was his first birthday. It was his first birthday coming up. And I was like, I'm just, all this stuff going through my head. I remember calling my mom, like, yo, Ma, this is crazy. I did everything I was supposed to do, And that was, like, my first instance of, just, like, I don't want to say just prejudice, but just, like, it was just so weird. Like, I just felt like, damn, like, because the white girl gets embarrassed, and by the black director, like I just felt I couldn't really justify any of it. So I'm thinking of everything. I'm like racist. I'm like this is I'm just like I don't know what's going on, and like I was like damn. And I'm like yo, she hired her boyfriend, and her boyfriend finished the show, and it was like when you freelancing and you got that gig where you're like all right, I got 4 months of work. That's a big ass deal. Right, you know what I mean? That's a big ass deal. So for me, I'm just like I'm losing 4 months of work. This is like This is like my third job out of college, which is it was supposed to be my longest, and my son's birthday is coming up, and they let me go, for some craziness.
Right.
And fast forward to last year, where I pop out to different bars, and my friends own sports bars in New York, and there's a security guard who I know, and they had like a friends and family holiday party or whatever, and I was there and I stopped by. He's like, yo, stop by. It's Bounce Sport Club in New York. You guys know Bounce.
Mm-hmm. Where are y'all on 20-something Street?
Yeah, over there. Yeah. So I go into Bounce and the security guard's like, yo, what's up, bro? And he's like, yo, meet my wife. And his wife is Veronica, the woman who fired me.
Right.
And 9 years later. And she was like, she's like, yo, this is the guy I was telling you about. And she was like, oh, yeah, we saw your commercials and everything. And I'm like, yo, Veronica, you don't even remember who I am. And I'm like, because when I saw her, I'm like, damn, I haven't seen her since whatever. I'm like, I used to work with you as a PA on blah, blah, blah on this show. And she was like, oh, my God. She was like, wait, this show? I was like, yeah. And I was like, you fired me. I was like, you fired me. And she's like, oh, my God. She was like, oh, my God. Yeah, that was so weird. It was just like a lot going on. And he technically violated her, and it was just weird, and I don't know what was going on, and I was like, yo, listen, it's all good, and it's all good.
That's so whack.
And she was like, but look at you, you're on television now and things like that. So it's just crazy how things, and I was like, yo, like what are you up to? And she was like, oh, like she stopped doing that. She was like, yo, reality was too much for her, and like she jumped into. I think she said she was a teacher. That's neither here nor there. But for me, I just try to like treat everyone the same, treat everyone with respect.
Exactly.
Because it's like I don't burn bridges. I didn't hate her. As a young person coming out of college, having a kid, I just wanted to understand like why that was happening to me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I put in all the work. So it's just like it goes. going back to my original point about like who you know, it is who you know, because the situations like that will have you protected, right?
Correct.
You know, but you never ever want to think like that. But you got to understand that some people might have that luxury, right? I don't want that luxury. There's no one that I know that can say, you know, he put me on. Nobody put me on. Nobody but me. You know, so like I don't want to hook up. I don't want to even know that person I could do. I want to know that person, right? But I don't want that person to just give me a handout.
Right.
Because
they're always gonna have some sort of like upper hand on you or something that they feel as though, you know, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. Yep. Bro, I know somebody that, all right, I'm not going to go too deep into this. Because
I just went mad deep and took a long time.
It's all good. No. We appreciate that. And that's some valuable stuff. Well, it's funny. I know somebody right now that would see this specific podcast going on and would be like, I'm the reason for that. I know y'all know them too. That's the funny part. Y'all know who it is too.
I had the shit in my nose. People like, still got a nose ring?
Nah, but for real, but it's true. It's like you never want to be in that situation, right? You never want to be in that situation where it's like, yeah, I got to a certain level because of this relationship that I had, and they did me a favor. Now, to be real, I don't think there's nothing wrong with, you know, necessarily like having favors being done for you, but at the same time, it's like you mentioned something, being prepared, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're prepared and you're in a situation where you're not going to be able to get elevated to a certain position because you were prepared, but you happen to know the person that's making the decision, you earned that spot.
Yeah, fact.
That's something that you earned. You know what I mean? It's not like somebody necessarily gave that to you. You have earned the spot to be recognized by that individual that makes that decision to say, yeah, I trust you enough with that position. I'll take that, but not just a handout.
It's
right?
also right. It also comes from now when a person, let's say somebody does give you an opportunity, hand you one, and they take it, you ain't really learned anything throughout the process, so you can't really even build yourself back. You're looking for the next hand to help you up. So at that point, he kind of already know my value. I know what I bring. I know what I can do. I just got to get my foot in the door again. Yep. And nobody can take what I learned from me. So that's why we'll say, man, look for opportunities, not handouts.
That's like, you ever seen one of the first Jordan crying memes when it's like the first day on your job, but you lied on the resume? You don't want to be that guy. Right. You know what I'm saying? You want to be prepared if somebody does put you in that position to be able to, succeed.
And if you do lie on your goddamn resume and you get a job, you better research. You better count your blessings and be like, you know what? I got that, and now I'm gonna be a pro at that. Like I'm gonna know, and that's the thing that's what separates the the Diddy's and those people who are moguls from the people who don't make it and people who coast and people who get excited about small amounts of success, because with this whole Instagram and this whole social media day, like everyone wants that quick come up. You know what I mean? And like for me, like I remember people like friends who I have, they're like, yo man, so like after I left Bleacher Report, they were just like, yo, like, what are you doing right now? It's a pandemic and stuff and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, don't worry about me, bro. Like my checks are still, I still got I have multiple streams. That's something that I learned, that I'm just like, all right, I still have that freelance, mind space. Like I'm just not like, I'm not sitting around on my ass, bro. Like, like even with, my Samsung deal, like I got that without an agent, like I got that on my own just from like, reaching out and attending events, right? Like I had worked with Samsung for so long, and then I supported them and always rocked Samsung, and I would always post it. But it's being genuine, and being persistent. Like I said, I went to every Samsung. They would invite me to events. I'm popping up at these events, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do my content. I'm gonna show you the content I'm doing with this phone. And before I had a deal, y'all know I always had Samsung phones, and I would always preach to y'all about getting these phones. You know what I mean? And people are like, yo,
I think you might be sold on that the one you recently did the commercial with the big one, the big fold one. That shit is crazy. Yeah. So I'm that's just a testament to even though I'm not getting paid to do it, right? I'm putting myself in these positions to show the people who can see it what I'm doing, because like they're seeing my content, I'm posting it, and it's like sometimes you got to be picky and choosy, with posts. Like, I won't say the brand, but a post that I posted, yesterday, they had sent me some of their product, but I was like, all right, I posted some of it before, now I got to be selective with it, and I'm not posting it. I'm not gonna, I'm just not gonna post it because I'm just like it's gonna be weird, and then
a week later, they reached out. They said, hey, we have a paid opportunity, and here's the creative, and we want to work with you on that. And I'm like, oh, all right, this is cool. Now this makes more sense. But not to say I don't like the product, because I've posted the product before. Like, I like the product, and but at the end of the day, you got to be selective. You have to understand, what to post and what not to, because the brands, they'll take advantage of you. If you keep posting it for free, they're like, all right, well, why should we pay?
Why should we pay? You doing it anyway.
He posted up a free product.
Yeah.
Like when I was getting all these kicks, it got to a point where I was just like, I'm not really posting this. You literally have to make that decision. Where I was media, and I used to get all of the shoes. I used to get everything for free, right? And then it got to a point where I'm like on TV now, and they all want to send me free stuff and all that. But I didn't get the fire, right? I didn't get like the fire, like the exclusive. And I was like, all right, well,
you was getting the Jordan 1 mids. You was getting the team Jordans now all of a sudden. So you wasn't getting the highs. You was getting the off-whites.
Same vibe. Yeah. So I would get like the performance stuff, but like when it came to like the cool stuff, I was like, they was lacking on it. Right. And I was just like,
some pro models.
I was just like, all right. I'm not posting from this brand anymore. And then they see that. They're like, oh, you didn't post this. I'm like, I didn't like them. You know what I mean? And I just became that guy that was like, all right, I'm gonna be real about it, and then I became a personality and not just media. So
for sure.
But that sometimes shades up relationships with brands, but but
it has, at the same time, it's showing your worth though.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying
it's like making that distinction. Like, I'm not like these guys. Same way I'm not a van sitter. Right. I'm not a guy that you're gonna send any shoe and I'm just gonna post it.
Right.
And say I like it. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm definitely not saying I like it if I don't. I'll ask my viewers, do y'all like these? How y'all feel about these?
Right. Now, do you think that would it be? I don't know. I was gonna ask. Would it be safe to say that maybe some of your love for kicks started maybe at, so I think I said it at the beginning, I'm not sure if I did, I don't remember, but we all met working at Foot Locker on 34th Street in Midtown Manhattan. That's how we met. We met on the kids Foot Locker side. Cracking jokes, making $200 every 2 weeks and spending $20 a day on Macy's lunch across the street in the basement. Yo,
that was some good lunch.
That was some fire lunch.
And then Manhattan Mall came around and they had
the food court, right? Yeah, they had the food court. But I was about to say, do you think that working there, because it was cool to like be there to like work like some of like the Jordan releases or the early releases. But then in the same breath, I'm like, us growing up in Brooklyn, like that was our life anyway. Yeah. It was just a bonus. Exactly, it gave us a different access. That was literally like our life. But I was just wondering, like, working in a sneaker store, did that have any effect necessarily, on
like my love for kicks?
Right.
I think
it enhanced it in any way.
I think I worked there because we worked there because we loved kicks.
I worked there for the check, bro. I was broke.
I mean,
when Malcolm got me that job, I was happy, bro.
My checks went to kicks when we had 50% off. That's what my checks went.
Right, for all of us.
Yeah, for real.
Like, my sneakers. My mom told me I might as well work there for free because I'm giving them.
No joke.
I work there for the shoes.
Yo, do you remember there was a stretch of time where we was getting the authentic football jerseys? We was getting authentic jerseys. Yo, my checks was going to that. Yeah, that and construction Timbs. I had a whole Javette over there in the back. Yo, I had my whole front, like the front of my door in my building where I work at. I mean, where I live.
Construct saved my life, by the way. Boxing Construct saved my life.
I mean, yeah.
Javette had the what you had, Ja? The single sole, no leather on the top.
Oh shit! Damn, that's crazy.
The butt nakeds. But that's what they call them.
The no leather.
The butt nakeds.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Put the pants leg over them.
They're both weatherproof. They're both waterproof.
Good job, man. But
then you shoot a jump shot just because you're playing in your boots no matter what. You shoot a jump shot and they come up, they're like, yo, we got the butt naked. Butt naked job.
Single soul.
But so
now John worked there. Hold on, that's the crazy part. John worked at Foot Locker too. Mm-hmm. We worked at 34th Street. John worked at Delancey. Yeah, John was at Delancey at Foot Locker. That's crazy, man.
You type of dude cut people hours on there like them. Talking about your assistant manager. You come in there, your name not on the schedule.
Foot Locker produced a lot of fucking successful people in the world, man.
Yeah.
Came out a hub of.
Listen, shout out to Foot Locker for real, because like it's crazy because I worked at Foot Locker and then my first video was a Foot Locker video, and then now I get paid by Foot Locker on campaigns. Like I have a campaign dropping with Foot Locker right now.
That's incredible. Mind you, we're not getting paid here right now to talk about Foot Locker. This is like just real shit.
This is what we do.
Yeah, again, right. Again, right. No, this is just where it started, right? You know what I'm saying? Is it? Oh, yo. All right. So you were gonna mention something. You said Kobe quote, but I wanted to bring this up. So all right, working at Foot Locker when I met Lance, it was the first individual back in the day that we shared the same love for Kobe Bryant. Like I never met nobody else that loved Kobe the way myself and Lance did. No joke. Actually, there was one other person I didn't know until later on. Is actually Javez's friend, Fifi. She was another Kobe Bryant fan. God rest Kobe, man. That respect to Kobe and Vanessa and the family. But I want you to talk about some of the experiences. So obviously, with some of the stories that you're hearing, throughout Lance's career, like he's been able to be around a lot of people. And me and Lance loved Kobe, but because of the way Lance positioned his just career, he's been able to meet Kobe. He was able to meet Kobe. He was able to be around Kobe for special events. And when I always saw that, I ain't gonna lie, like I felt it was like I was there. I felt like I was there with him. And I remember one of the first times that I knew you were at different events at different occasions where you were around Kobe because we would talk about it. But I forgot what year. I want to say it was 2013
Houston
All-Star game.
Houston All-Star.
Was that 2013?
Yeah, I think that was 13. Houston.
I think it might have been 2013. Yo, I'm watching this All-Star game, NBA All-Star game.
Dunk contest.
It was the dunk contest, yes. I'm watching the screen, and I start squinting my eyes because I'm like, that's Kobe on the sidelines. Yo, that's Lance with Kobe on the sideline, and they chopping it up. They dapping each other like ha kiki, like they mans. Yeah. And I was like, nah, Lance made it. Yo, Lance, I'm telling my girlfriend, yo, Lance made it. Lance made it.
And I was wearing
I
was wearing Deion shirts. His Wear Your Heart Out shirt. I was wearing his shirt with a blazer on.
Deion Cooper, what's up, bro?
Yeah, dope. So I was rocking his shit, straight on the screen. But I remember that day, man. First of all,
talk about that.
My heart.
Was that your first time?
No.
You was around him.
So I met him in New York when the Nets first. I think that was the year the Nets first went to Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. It might make sense for them to go in 13, yeah. And the away teams weren't practicing in the Barclays at the time. They were practicing at some random gym in like New York Athletic or whatever. So I'm telling my homies I'm about to meet Kobe, and they're like, yo, you gotta tell him how much you love him, blah, blah.
This is the story I wanted you to say.
Bro, this is like literally like 6 a.m. Like we that's how early I was there. Like I didn't really even need to be there because like random people were like, random people wanted to see different players, right? So if you're a fan of, the Celtics when they come into town, some people were like, yo, let me just go in there, I'll do the interviews because I love KG or whoever was playing for them at the time. So everybody knew that. I'm like, nobody's going to this one. This is Kobe coming to New York. So I'm like texting my homies in the morning, 6 a.m. They're like, yo, you gotta tell him this. I'm like, hell no. Literally saying hell no, responding, saying I'm not gonna tell Kobe how much I love him the first time I meet him. Right. As I'm doing that, I feel somebody like hit me in the back. And I turn around and it's Kobe. And he got on a hoodie and he's like, good morning. And like put his hand out. And I was like, good morning, Kobe. I was like, oh, what up, nigga? That's kind of how it was. It was like, oh, what up, Kobe?
I swear,
and I was like,
us New York niggas could be so stupid.
It's odd, bro. It's odd.
We could be so stupid.
Yo, he was like, yo, what up? He's like, yo, what are you mad? Like energy. He's like, yo, good morning. I was like,
This is Lance Idol, and he punched Kobe in the back. What he did was he punched Kobe. He punched Lance's ego button. There was like, oh, nah, I ain't going.
I was like, I'm from Brooklyn, Kobe. He was like, I ain't gonna ask you that. Nah, he was like, but that's how I played it. And I turned around, I was like, oh shit. And then we walk in, and he's like, yeah, man. I think it was the first time the Nets played in Brooklyn. He was like, yeah, man, because we were talking about Brooklyn. I was like, yeah, I'm from Brooklyn. And he was like, yo, I love Brooklyn. He was like, I'm like, Kobe, what you know about Brooklyn, bro? Like, you ain't never been to Brooklyn, Kobe. Because this is when Brooklyn was Brooklyn. And he's like, nah. He's like, I come out there, we go to Dumbo and all that. I'm like, that's like safe Brooklyn. That's like tourist Brooklyn. He was like, yeah. He's like, but we get to just walk around and see the sights. And, he's like, nah, it's a beautiful place. And boom. So then, everything starts, right? So at the time, it's like, I'm definitely the only black reporter there. But this guy's like Howard Beck was at the New York Times, and then he ended up at Bleacher Report. Howard always got the first question because all the players knew Howard, and like all the other reporters were like, "Well, this is Howard," you know. And I remember he was starting, and Kobe was like, "Yo, where's Lance Fresh?" And I was like, "Yo, this nigga said my name." Right? So then he was like,
"Called you?"
I was like, "Kobe just said my name, dog. Like what?" And I was like, "Damn, what did I?" I'm like, "What did I do?" Right? I was like, "I'm right here." And he's like, "Yo, come over here, sit next to me, man." And I was like, "All right." So I said next to Kobe. He was like, "First question," and I was like. And I asked him a question, and this is when Kobe was like getting like a lot of assists leading up to the All-Star game. Okay. And I was like, he was averaging like triple. That's when remember he was averaging triple-double. He just kept passing, and he would get like his first 10 assists in the first quarter, and then after that he would just go in Kobe mode. I was like, "Yo, man, All-Star weekend coming up. What you gonna do, man? You getting triple-double?" He was like, "Oh, nah, I'm staying single coverage. I'm shooting that shit." Like literally, like that was the quote, and it went viral. He cursed, and everybody picked it up. But that was my thing. Mm-hmm. So the way it works in media, even if Fox is there, ESPN is there, whoever asked that question, they get the credit for it. So that's when BR was still like on the startup kind of vibe. So everyone literally posted that and used that as their quote via Bleacher Report. Wow. So that was like really big, going back. So then I asked a few other questions. And then I'm in there asking questions about kicks. And he's like, and they like to talk about that because literally nobody's talking about that. In the place where they're talking about everything on the court, I'm talking about off the court with my favorite player. And
stuff that's relatable to majority of the viewers and listeners.
Facts. And after that, we leaving. And I'm like, "Yo, man, I appreciate that." And, the dude, I think his name is John Black. John Black. He was like the head of PR. Tall, bald dude. He's like, if anyone knows him in media, like he doesn't play. Like he's like, "Yo, get out." And that's pretty much what he was like. And Kobe was like, nah, he's good. And then I sat down with Kobe. And there's a picture on my Instagram where I have on a hat and me and Kobe are talking. He has on a hoodie and he's laughing and joking. Those are screenshots from the video because my camera guy just kept recording while we were talking. And we were just talking about like, what I'm trying to do and, the questions that I'm trying to ask. I'm like, yo, I'm like trying to be on that Ahmad Rashad, type vibe where I'm just talking about everything off the court. And he was like, nah. He was like, yo, it's like a breath of fresh air. And he was like, yo, yeah, I've been seeing Bleacher Report. He was like, but that's when they weren't respected. So we were talking about that a little bit. And then, we just dipped. And he was like, yo, man, he's like, I'm gonna see you, if you ever come to LA, I'll see you at some games, make sure you say what's up. So then obviously I asked a question about All-Star. So All-Star was like coming up. Mm-hmm. I think it was like 2 weeks from there. And then I ended up going to Houston. I literally walked by as him, Vanessa and the family. They're on the court. And he saw me. He was like, like he knew me. And I was like, and he was looking at me like, "Are you coming here?" Uh-huh. And like as media, you can't be there, bro. Mm-hmm. Like this is dude, Mark something, for the NBA, good dude. But he's the guy who pretty much like keeps people off the court. He's like, literally, I'm standing next to Kobe, and he's like, hey, looking at you, like he literally will grab your media credential and be like, if he don't know you, and be like, "Get off the court," like straight up like that. Came up to me, did that. Kobe was like, "He's good," because like Kobe say that you're good.
Right.
So I'm just sitting next to him, watching the dunk contest, and we reacting. Bro, my phone went crazy.
Nigga, I was on this phone like, yo. I'm trying to call him. Yo, pick up.
Yo, mad people pick up. I'm like, my phone vibrating. I'm like, yo. I came back to like literally like 67 unread text messages. People I went to high school with, people who I didn't know. I had to respond to everybody like, thank you.
Because anybody that knows you from then knows that moment. They stay watching. They kind of like, this is not just somebody he likes. We know how much you push that. Like, he's the best player out there. That's my favorite player.
We used to have arguments
because nobody liked Kobe.
Everyone, and that's the kind of crazy part.
And us.
That's really the crazy part. I think when he passed, to see the reaction of the world, I think for like super Kobe fans, it was kind of
even before that, even in retirement,
to get tight. Like,
it was kind of different.
I felt like that during retirement.
Right.
It was like, nah,
like there's no way, right? And hold on, and to go further, like, yo, y'all think we not like no? My firstborn son was 5 years old. His name is Kobe. Mm-hmm. This is how real it was. You know what I mean?
I want to name my son Kobe, but.
Your wifey wasn't having it? See, I have a daughter who's 11 who was born first, and my lady was able to name her. So I saved it. I said, you got this one. If we ever have a son, There's no argument about it. So that's how I was able to win mine. You know what I'm saying?
So seeing that happen for you was kind of like Mike said, you know at the scale of how much that shit meant to you. So it's kind of like, yo, we see.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
So I was.
Did you get to tell him then, like, when was the time where you able to tell him, like, yo, you don't even understand? Like,
so for, throughout that time, while Kobe's from when he's playing to when he's retired, I'm with Nike with him. I'm with Hublot. So I'm seeing him a lot, and I'm getting these moments where I'm like really getting to chill with him. Mm-hmm. And like it's times where like, Nike events where like no one's getting one-on-one interviews with him. And I'm like, as soon as I see him, I'm like, what up, baby? I'm like, yo, I'm trying to get a one-on-one with you, make it happen, right? And, he'd be like, I got you. It's whatever. He doesn't have to. He might not. But I remember at a Nike event, it's the picture that's on my page where he has his arm around me. And it was that day, and he was like, yo, he was leaving, and I was like, I looked at him, and he was like, yeah. He's like, come through it. And the guy who I'm super, super tight with, is my guy, Javi. He runs like Nike PR. He was looking at me like, and then I was like, Kobe said, it's cool. And, I went over there and I interviewed Kobe one-on-one. And I was just like, yo, appreciate it. So whenever he see me, he would come into the event, like he'd walk in with all the media and he'd see me, he'd be like, you know what I mean? And do stuff like that. So like, that's the kind of relationship I created with him, but I never really told him how I felt about him. So we were in Napa Valley for Hublot. That's when he came out with his Vino watch with Hublot. And was that mine? That was my second to last interview with Kobe. And, he had retired at this point, and I was like, yo, man, cause we're literally just walking around drinking wine, smoking cigars. So like, I'm like, yo, this is the time. And before I interviewed him, I was like, yo, man, I just wanted to let you know, how much you meant to me, man, when I was a kid. Like you were like a father figure to me. Like you were the dude who I wanted to be like. You the dude who I wanted to play like. I wanted to look like. You know what I mean? Like I learned a lot from you, and then the whole Mamba mentality. Like I take that to me with work now. Like that's how I like. That's literally my mantra. Like I just literally learned that from you, and I just appreciate all the support from you throughout my career. Just having you as an ally was just like huge. And he was like, yo, man, and it's funny because I was so hyped when he told me that quote, and then he said it a few times. He was like, it's always a pleasure for him to inspire people beyond, basketball, and where you could teach, and you can see the books that he went on to write, with, for the kids, and just trying to like teaching them the importance of working hard and like really trying to be the best at, what you do. So he was like, yo, it's always a blessing when I hear that I could really inspire people outside of sports, through sports. And that's kind of like the shit that he was really pushing with his books, where it's like, yo, I want to teach kids the importance of teamwork, the importance of putting in the work, and, and just, outworking people.
Right.
And like, I outwork motherfuckers. Like that's what I do, So that was the moment where I was able to tell him that. And, that's the picture. I have that picture. I have two pictures on my wall with me and Kobe. It's one with me and him, arms closed, and we just posted, and it's the other one where we're like fiddling with the watch. But that was probably like my favorite interaction with him. But like everything, it's still surreal. Like Kobe's passed, and I spent all this time with him, but it's still surreal. Like you probably appreciate it more than I can. You know what I mean? Because for me, it's still not real, right? Like obviously, like on the outside looking in, like we were at the same game, the last game.
We both were at Kobe's last game.
And I remember you texting me before you even went there. He's like, yo, I don't care how much I gotta pay, I gotta be in the building. Mm-hmm. And then you got that dope picture where like you're in the background.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
The
like,
game on the ESPN show when they aired it. I actually caught myself.
And like that day, like I flew to the game on his helicopter. You know what I mean? And like
crazy.
Seen it was with him, and he greeted the fans. Like the fans were waiting for him at the helipad, and like all that. Like that was just like a crazy time for me. But to be able to see him after spend that time with him, and one thing about Kobe, that hurt me the most, man, because I remember seeing like before he passed, I was just saying, yo, I'm so happy for Kobe, winning awards and shit. And it's like he's like. You would expect Kobe to get back into basketball and be a coach. I'm like, nah, he's too great for that. Like he can't, like he's too great. He expects too much of people. That's why Michael Jordan's not a coach, right? Because you just can't be a coach when you have that when you're like
translate that from what's going on in here and expect that.
You're gonna like kill yourself, bro.
Right.
You're gonna be frustrated. You're gonna literally have a heart attack. You're gonna have a heart attack. You're gonna hit one of your players, bro. Because like it's like yo, Mike, you know, Kobe, like they not as nice as you, bro. You know, like he missed that shot because he ain't got no heart. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's it. You know, that's a tough shot. You hit the tough shot. So, you know, I was just so happy for him, and that's one of the things where it's like I just couldn't understand it. You know, when just that moment. You know, and like.
Where were you when you found out that he passed? Where were you at?
I was sitting on my couch in my living room. My son is like doing something behind me, or like he's like putting something together behind me, and I just go on my Instagram, and this dude that I went to college with, dude named Pierre. So like the day before is when LeBron broke his record. So people were, I had my LeBron fans who was like, "Yo, LeBron passed your boy," yesterday.
LeBron shout out.
That day, and I'm like, "Yo, man, yeah, they call Bron fans Bron sexuals, because like they sometimes they lose grip of reality. Just
we got fingers pointing at Gary right now.
It's killing me. That's crazy.
He said Bron sexual. His fingers just went right to Gary.
They just lose grip of reality just to protect them.
Just a little bit, right now. So your son was behind you. You said right. No, you was watching.
Yeah. So my boy's texting me. He's like, "Yo." He's like, "Damn, man, sorry to hear that about Kobe." And I was like, "Bro," I'm like, "LeBron, I'm like, it's whatever, man. Kobe got 5 rings, baby." That's what I said. And he was like, "No." He's like, "They said Kobe died." And like, I got mad at him because I'm like, "Bro,
don't believe that shit
like that."
Right.
I was like, "What?" So then I Googled it. I couldn't find it. And he was like, "No, look on TMZ. TMZ was the first one."
Wow.
And I
got a crazy story when you're done, bro. Hold on. This is how the universe works. This is how deep our connection with Kobe was. I'm being for real. Like, my story was almost identical to that. But go ahead, finish your thought. So you got this call. You search in Google. You can't find it. He says go on TMZ.
Yeah. So I go on TMZ and he's there and it's on there. I'm just like, yo, what am I seeing, bro? Like, this is not real. So then I'm like watching the news, and then that's when everything just started pouring in. And I was just like, what? And I'm just like started seeing it. I'm like shedding a tear. My son's like, what's the matter? I'm like, Kobe died. He's like, what? He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, man. And it's like, then my phone is going crazy and I can't talk to nobody, bro. I'm just like, I'm stuck, bro. Right. I'm just like, I call my mom. And I'm crying, and my mom is like crying, and like it was like crazy, bro.
It's
like,
crazy. We texted for like 2 seconds, and I think we felt the hurt. Like,
yeah.
And that was it.
And I'm like, like my whole thing when it was going down, I was just like, because they were like, oh, we're not sure who was on the plane with him. I'm like, yo, I just hope that his daughter wasn't on the plane with him.
Or like any of his family members.
Yeah. I was just like, I hope that, and. Yeah, man, and that hurt. That's what hurt me. That's what I feel like hurt me more than anything. That, than him actually going was the fact that Gigi was on the plane with him. So, like she was there when I was on the court with him in Houston. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like, yeah, I don't like talking about it.
Right. No, I feel you, man. My story with that was, I was in LA. I was in that of all places, I live in Miami, and that weekend I'm in LA, and he died on the 26th. The 25th was my birthday, and I was there for that. And the next day, which is the 26th, I remember. Here's the crazy part: I was staying at the Montage Hotel, and I was having breakfast on their rooftop, and I remember looking over towards. Like the Beverly Hills Mountains area, which, on that direction is like Calabasas and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that morning to myself, like, damn, it's foggy over there. Like, shit, it's crazy foggy. But I just remember thinking about that. And I remember having breakfast, right? And I go downstairs, and as soon as I get to my room, I get a phone call from Timbaland. And Tim calls me, and I'm thinking now that day was Grammy Sunday. Mm-hmm. So, and the Grammys was going to be at the Staples Center. Yeah. So I'm thinking that Tim was calling me to see what I was doing, that day. So I pick up the phone, and which is very ironic because as much as I love Kobe and what he's been able to do from the basketball world and his impact on me, I feel like in my life and how I feel about the Mamba mentality as well, I would very much so say how much, and this is something I've actually never told him either. He kind of knows, but not really, how much respect, love, and admiration I got for Timbaland. So like the GOAT to me in the music industry is calling me up. And he's the one that told me about the GOAT of my basketball career, of my basketball, life. He's the one that's telling me that Kobe passed. But the way it happened, he called me up, and I thought he was trying to figure out what's going on for the day. But I hear him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting on this plane right now." He said, "Bro," and he knows how much I like Kobe too. And he's like, "Bro, yo, did you hear? Kobe passed. I heard Kobe died, bro." And I'm like, same exact, I'm like, nigga, what? Like, I thought you talking about, you calling me to see what's going on tonight. I said, bro, I don't believe that, man. Not a part of me wanted to believe that. I didn't think about it. And it was the same. He was like, bro, go check on TMZ. Now, if you know, it's like 89.9% where TMZ say it, it's true.
Facts.
So I made sure I didn't go on TMZ and I started Googling it. And I'm over there trying to Google the situation. And I'm like, I don't find nothing, Tim. I don't see nothing. Same thing as you. Yeah. Like, I couldn't find nothing. But I'm like, let me go on TMZ. And I see it on TMZ. Bro, my heart starts to drop. And I hear him telling people on the plane. So he's on the plane and he's like, yo, did you hear Kobe die? Did you hear Kobe die? And you hear the whispering on the plane in the background, like, Kobe passed away? Kobe passed away? Yo, and it just didn't feel right. Like, it didn't feel right, man. And then I kept refreshing Google. And I'm sitting in my hotel room and I'm refreshing it. And then I see it started to load up, like, Kobe helicopter crash in Calabasas. Kobe helicopter. I'm like,
bro, that was
I bawled for weeks. Bro, but go ahead, man.
And to bring a light to and I want to both of y'all, man, in terms of watching y'all go from, me and Lance go way back, man, party days. I just asked him if he was bald, but he remember Kobe cut his hair off, so he did that. I'm talking about Lance that had the fresh plate on his,
I've never seen
was it
Lance
1996 Maxima or something like that?
2000. Chill, 2000.
It wasn't the boxy one, it was the smooth one.
Right, the smooth joint. I'm like, yeah.
No, I think it was GLE.
Yeah, I'm going back to let's go back to those days, man, to watch him, be around an inspiration in his life and knowing that. Then also, I remember me and you going to actually Komodo and sitting down eating. Forgot who else we were with.
Probably Lance, because Lance fucking loves Komodo.
No, it was me.
And Timbaland
was there. Yeah, that was me.
So it was us three, remember?
Shit.
And I was like,
I didn't know him then.
Exactly.
We was like, yo, that's Timbaland right there.
It was us three sitting on a Komodo.
Yo, your memory is crazy, Gary.
And
it's
then
so
he come and he's like, yo, that's Timbaland at the table. And he was like, yo, just go say what up, something.
And I was like, hey, hold on. Here goes the New York button. Nah, nigga.
Nah, I'm cool. So,
cool.
And to
knowing how much I love you, nigga.
To now go and see that turn into you knowing him. And shout out to Tim, by the way.
Yeah.
Exactly, man. So to see both of y'all be able to be around the people that kind of inspires y'all in lifestyle, that's amazing. Congratulations to y'all. Yo, Ivo, where you at, man? What with Chuck at? So,
and I think
I'm some fans, so I'm coming.
I think the moral of the story is, like when you get the chance, man, you gotta tell people how they feel. Just
without question.
No matter if it's a celebrity, whoever it is, I think it's we can't be too cool to tell each other we love each other. We can't be too cool to reach out and say things, because at the end of the day, if you say it, you say it, right? I never really wanted to meet Kobe, because I was like, man, Kobe probably a dick, right? From being watching him on the court. Same thing about Chris Paul. Now Chris Paul is one of my my business partners. So that's how it ended.
But I gotta give y'all congrats. But that's also a testament of keep going, keep doing what you gotta do, keep believing, keep setting them goals out there, and you will meet your mentors. Yeah. You will be able to sit down with the mentors, can become people in your life, even though you met your mentor by them from afar. So y'all are inspiring in terms of that, man. I see that play out 2 times.
Respect.
So that's respect to that, man. Yo, Ivo, where you at?
All right. Word, man. Yo, Lance, I think we could definitely go on and on, man, but is there any parting words, man, that you just want to give people that's just, trying to go out there and get it? They want to win on a high level, and just something.
Let me ask you this now, because we now, obviously from this time, we know who you are. People know who you are. We know the evolution of Lance, And I don't like to let's say where do you want your legacy to go, because you got a long time to play that out. But if your last words can also be in the terms of how can you, because somebody's watching you say, man, I want to be like that person. How can you impact, or what kind of impact you trying to leave on the next generation coming up to be Lance Fresh?
Yeah, I think what I always say is you could do it too. And that's something that I always tell kids is like, I'm literally that kid from the hood, and that's kind of cliche, but that's who I am, and it's all the work you put in, exactly what we spoke about with Kobe. That's how I modeled my life, so like I want to be the best at everything I do, so whether it's like creating content, whether it's going to an event, like I want to look the best, I want to be the best, like I put in the work, I'm not lazy with anything. And I think putting in the work, that's the biggest part. You can't want to be the best without the work. So you could do it too. You just gotta outwork people. There's people who make teams, who make Division I teams, who make NBA teams, who are not the best basketball player, but they work hard. And I can't. There's not a coach in the world who doesn't want a dude or a woman who's not physically skilled as the others, but outworks everyone. So it's like, I think just putting in the work, and that's you're gonna find your place wherever that is, whether it's the starting five, whether it's the Hall of Fame, whether it's on the bench, and that's not just speaking on sports, just period. Like you put in that work and you're gonna make it. It's impossible for you not to put in work and not gain success. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody that saw Lance and say, I want to do what Lance is doing. That's what's up. Shout out to what Lance is doing.
I want to do what y'all doing, man. Y'all in Miami, come on, man.
Hey, listen, man.
Jex with the new car every day.
Okay, man. I don't want the loan request coming my way. Remember, I want all the loan requests going to Lance way. I don't want none of the loan requests.
Come on, man. But I appreciate y'all, man. I love what y'all doing. Love to see my brothers who literally was same spot I was at. And just kind of like put the work in. And
yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm proud of us. I always tell both of y'all that every time I see y'all. I'm proud of y'all. So we gotta keep it going. We can't get comfortable. We gotta now it's about Kobe, like your son Kobe, and like your kids. So we gotta keep that going for our legacies.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, and keep building upon this. And there's a lot more stuff that you're gonna see Lance in, and I'm almost certain that we're gonna be doing a whole bunch of stuff together as well. Just continue to build upon this. And as always, man, just always good seeing you. Appreciate you coming by,
for showing up.
And yeah, man. And until next time, man. Much love, bro. Respect to the Bryant family. Respect to Tim. Tim, I was on the phone with you yesterday for an hour. But respect to everybody out there checking in. Much love. We'll see you on the next episode. Let's get it. Yo,
good shit, y'all.
Appreciate it, man.